Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a question that, let's be honest, drives pretty much everyone crazy, from the top floor to the front line.
You know the drill, right? A big new initiative gets announced, there's all this fanfare, and then, poof, it just fizzles out or hits a solid wall of resistance. So what's going on? Why do so many of these things just fail?
I mean, take a look at this. This is a real-life example from a police department, and it shows you just how deep that disconnect can get. You've got captains thinking the officers are unruly children, and the officers see their bosses as dismissive and out of touch. It becomes this nasty, vicious cycle where each side's actions just prove the other side right, and any chance for real change? It's pretty much dead on arrival.
And a lot of the time, the problem isn't actually a weakness. It's the organization's greatest strength. The very things that made it successful in the first place, what we call core competencies, can kind of harden. They become these core rigidities that actually stop the organization from adapting. It's like the strength becomes a blind spot.
And here's what's really wild. This resistance, it's often not even conscious. There's this amazing term from psychoanalysis, the unthought known. Think of it as the secret story that everyone in the company is acting out, but nobody's ever actually said it out loud. The real trick to change, then, isn't teaching people something new. It's helping them finally think about what they've known all along.
So, you can see, right? If the problem is buried this deep in hidden stories and mindsets, then a new spreadsheet or a company-wide memo, that's just not going to cut it. The real key, the thing that unlocks genuine change, is getting to something way more fundamental: the organization's core values.
Okay, so how do values actually shape a culture? Well, Edgar Schein gave us this classic model that breaks it down beautifully. He says culture has layers. On the very top, you've got the artifacts, the stuff you can see and touch. Under that, you have the norms, all those unwritten rules of how things get done. But way down at the very core, the engine driving everything else, that's the values. And if you want real change, you've got to start right there.
But here's the thing. When we talk about company values, we're often missing a huge piece of the puzzle. What if there's this really important set of values that we've been overlooking, one that actually applies to every single organization out there, no matter if it's public or private?
And that brings us to this really groundbreaking idea from a researcher named Barry Bozeman. He wrote a book called All Organizations Are Public. And in it, he just completely blew up the line we usually draw between the public and private sectors. He offered a totally new way to look at every organization.
So what is publicness? According to Bozeman, it's not about ownership, it's not about whether you're government-run or not. He saw it as a spectrum. It's about how much an organization is influenced by political forces, think government rules and public accountability, versus market forces like economic pressures. Every single organization, from a small startup to a huge government agency, falls somewhere on this line.
All right, so every organization has some level of publicness. That makes sense. But here's the twist. What if what really matters isn't the objective fact of it, but what the employees believe about it? This is where the whole idea gets super interesting. And this leads us to this powerful new concept, perceived publicness. Researchers discovered that the thing that truly moves the needle isn't just those external pressures, but an employee's own internal perception. It's a psychological thing, really. It's their personal belief about their organization's actual contribution to society.
And we're not talking about just some vague feeling. This perception is built on really specific things. Do employees see their organization as being accountable to the public? Do they believe it treats people fairly? And here's the big one. Do they feel like its main goal is to serve the public interest? When you put all those together, it creates this unique publicness print inside the mind of every employee.
So how do you even measure something like that? Well, researchers use statements just like these. They're designed to get right to the heart of it, to tap into what an employee truly believes about their organization's role in the wider world. It's basically a way to put a number on that sense of higher purpose.
And here it is, the big payoff. The research found a clear, statistically significant connection between an employee's level of perceived publicness and what's called organizational citizenship behavior. Now, that's just a fancy term for being willing to go the extra mile. You know, helping out a coworker, staying a bit late to get something done,
All those little things that actually make a massive difference.
So what's the bottom line here? It's huge, and it's universal. It doesn't matter if you're in a government office, a fast-paced tech startup, or a local nonprofit. If you can build that sense of public purpose, you will drive engagement and performance. Period. It's that powerful.
Okay, so this is a total game changer, right? But how does a leader actually put this into action? How do you find that sense of purpose that's already there and use it to fuel real, lasting change?
Well, one incredible tool for this is called appreciative inquiry. Now, most change efforts start by looking for problems, right? They ask, what's broken here? Appreciative inquiry completely flips that script. It starts by asking, what gives us life? When are we firing on all cylinders at our absolute best? The whole idea is that the questions we ask actually create the world we see.
And to do that, you need a major mindset shift from what they call a judger mindset to a learner mindset. The judger is always asking what's wrong, whose fault is this, and just gets stuck in a cycle of blame. But the learner is all about curiosity. They ask, hey, what's working here? What can we learn? What could be possible? It's all about asking questions that open doors, not build walls.
But asking great questions is only half the battle. You also have to listen in a totally different way. I'm not talking about just waiting for your turn to speak. I'm talking about what's called empathetic listening. That's the skill of really, truly trying to understand someone else's world, the feelings, the meaning behind what they're saying, as if you were right there in their shoes.
And that right there is the magic combination. When you bring together the positive, forward-looking questions of appreciative inquiry with that deep, empathetic listening, that's when leaders can tap into the sense of purpose that's already there. See, you don't have to invent it from scratch. You just have to uncover it and then turn up the volume.
Which really brings us to this profound final thought from David Cooperrider, one of the people who came up with appreciative inquiry. The questions we ask aren't just for finding answers, they are acts of creation. The questions we choose literally build the future of our organizations.
So if this has got you thinking, and you want to explore how this whole idea of perceived publicness could transform your own organization, you can dive way deeper. There's a ton of great research and resources over at PublicWise.online.